Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the post-game show of the Bama Standard. You are live right now, but before we give intros and have all the fun we're going to have, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Jump in the chat if you want to talk live, or just leave a comment down below. We need to hear from you. I'm your host, Justin Riley, and with me tonight for a second consecutive weekend is Coach Smook. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, bro? Glad to be back, man. Appreciate you for having me back, bro.
Hey, man, I know that whenever we play a game that you got something to say. So I'm always anxious to hear what you guys say. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to wait until Monday for in my own words to hear what your
Wow.
thoughts were. And so I thought we'd get it right from the jump. But before we kind of jump into everything, as you notice on the tagline there or our title page, we had a few injuries tonight. So we're going to go ahead and jump on that so the Alabama fans don't have much to worry about. First of all, the first injury we had was Cameron Latu. Looked like his knee was bothering him. He was able to return, as you saw, able to continue to do what he did. And so he's going to be okay. I'm sure he's going to be a little bit sore tomorrow, but Tide fans, nothing to worry about. Jordan Battle, I'm sure everybody took a deep breath. The heart skipped a little bit. All he had is just a hamstring injury, something that's going to
Okay.
be easily corrected, and he'll be right back doing what he does best. But perhaps the most impactful injury tonight, or what was probably the scariest, was Byron Young when he went down. He was
Yeah.
carted off. He was on crutches. So everybody's wondering just how severe is this injury. Guys, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you it's not that bad by the grace of God. He
Okay.
had an ankle injury, nothing too severe. He'll be back in the lineup doing what he does best. And hey, all his goals are still there. The first thing that came to my mind after he had such a promising offseason and a lot of buildup going in was all that going to be thrown out the window? No, Byron Young is still able to do what he's able to do, and he's going to be a huge contributor to this
That's
defense, which
big.
showed out tonight. So
Big.
but yeah, we won 55-3. I'll go ahead and go over a few stats. Bryce Young, who will definitely get more depth in a little bit later, played out of his mind. He was 25 of 36 for 385 yards. 316 of those yards came in the first and second quarter alone. I think he just came in just to say hello in the second half for like 5 minutes, and then he bounced, which he needed to. But yeah, he threw 4 touchdowns. Jace McClellan, I really like him, Coach Smoke.
Yeah, man.
I
That
really like his running style. 11 carries, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. It felt like he did a lot more, but listen,
yeah, I was going to say, are they sure about those 78 yards on the ground? But his all his rushes was tough runs, tough runs. Like that's what I miss about Alabama football. It was tough.
he kind of gave you that old school kind of feel, the old school back to that little bit of
He
nasty in him.
just sticking his foot in the ground and hitting the hole, like wasn't hesitating, and I was happy to see that from all the backs. Honestly, I think Jahmyr Gibbs kind of was hesitant the first run, but then after that, he was hitting the holes, man.
Yeah.
It was a
Oh
nice game.
man. Hey, what about, did you see that we hit that Jason McClellan laid on those that safety that decided to come back and be a hero?
Let me tell you, I that nastiness that we've been begging for, I saw that on both sides of on all
Oh
in all
yeah.
three phases of the game tonight. It was crazy. I don't want to stop the stats, man. Go ahead. I got
Okay, yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard not to get into that, but I promise we're going to. But receiving, man,
right.
did we ever need receivers to show up? And they did tonight, led by Ja'Cory Brooks. The Ja'Cory Brooks show was the tale of the first half. 6 receptions, 117 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Followed behind him, Jermaine Burton. Welcome to the show, Jermaine. Glad to have you with us. 4 receptions
I
for 94 yards.
I'm
And
not excited yet. I because I expected this, last week and the week before last. Jermaine Burton, for you to be the senior guy out there, and I just felt like the effort wasn't there the first couple weeks, and I feel like he got challenged this past week, and also I think that Bill O'Brien is being forced into creating mismatches, so you have to move an experienced guy around like that, and use it to your advantage. So we did see him line up in a couple different spots tonight, which was good. But like I said, I'm not excited yet. I got to see this against Arkansas A&M. I got to see it against those type of teams. You know.
Without a doubt. And I'll definitely talk more about the receiver group. I really like Ja'Cory Brooks, and I will say this. Out of all the receivers, each week I kind of felt like Ja'Cory was slowly becoming that guy.
Yeah.
I felt like there was this comfort level being established. He was a guy that had the effort there. If he wasn't getting separation, he was going to attack that ball and he was going to take what's his. So you kind of had a feeling at some point it was all going to click for him.
And that's another thing I was going to say. I said it last week with him and Trayshawn Holden. They might not have take the top off the defense speed, but those guys attack the ball on every pass within their catch radius. They're going to attack the ball. You don't see them coming out of hitches, sitting, waiting for the ball. They attack the ball, and that makes a difference. And I think that shows, especially with Holden and Bryce Young, their chemistry. We didn't see a lot of connection tonight, a lot of opportunities tonight because of the matchup that Brooks was getting with that guy playing 8-9 yards off of him on from the ball, giving him an 8-9 yard cushion. But we definitely see Holden. You know, he was able to display it early in the first couple games, and then you see Brooks just continuing to develop and evolve as a clutch player. Like I said, we always talk about the Auburn game, but I remember Ja'Cory Brooks. I want to say it was against Mississippi State in that same season. Made a couple of clutch catches. He and Trayshawn Holden. Trayshawn Holden caught a clutch slant route that moved it first down against Mississippi State last season. So these guys have been in the mix for the past couple years since they've been on the campus. It's just about just continuing to separate themselves as consistent players.
Yeah, no doubt. And one thing I will say about Ja'Cory Brooks, if he's not making plays happen as receivers, he's creating value for himself in other situations. You bring up last year, the Texas A&M game. No, we didn't win, but we were reeling and we were looking for something to try to get things going in the right direction. And what does he do? He blocks a punt, returns it for a touchdown. And then again this year, last week, block punt, returns it for a touchdown.
Just
Ja'Cory
effort,
Brooks
man.
is a valuable guy, and he's a guy that NFL GMs are looking at and thinking, yeah, when it's time, we got to pull the trigger and grab him. But yeah, we'll definitely get to him in just a minute. We're going to go through each group and talk about what we saw. But Coach Moog, I don't know about you, but I had a few questions going into this game. And if you had questions, I'd love to hear what your thoughts were before we played Vandy. But the first thing that I wanted to know, did we establish an identity in this game? Were we finally going to figure out who Alabama is? Or if we don't know quite who we are we at least on the path to that? Number two, are we set in position groups? Because there's no more time to play musical chairs. The prep games are done. The gauntlet starts now. So we don't need to be sitting here trying to figure things out. Arkansas is going to be a nasty place to play, especially being pissed off after losing to Texas A&M and especially losing in the fashion that they did.
Right.
Number three, did we eliminate the penalties / the mental errors? I got to be honest with you. I was getting a little frustrated in the first half when we were constantly getting penalties, but we only limited ourselves to 5 penalties tonight. So there you go. Yeah. And then finally, would the wide receivers have a coming out party? I was looking for better communication with Bryce Young. I was looking for that connection to be established. Last year, Bryce was able to anticipate where the routes would be with Jamison Williams and John Mechie. This year, or going into this game, it wasn't there. And you could tell that there wasn't any comfort established. And you could also see frustration. I felt like Bryce is playing at a level 10. And the wide receivers are playing like at a level 6 or 7.
Yeah,
and
as far as reading. Yep.
And Bryce is sitting here trying to be patient. He's like, come on, guys, come on. We got to get going. We got to start rolling. And then my final question, will we get better play calling from Bill O'Brien? So that's kind of what I was thinking about going in. Did you have any thoughts? Were they similar to that or completely different? What were you thinking?
I think those are 5 perfect thoughts to kind of attack. And off top, number one, did we establish an identity? I would say we made a step in the correct direction. As far as what the philosophy that Bill O'Brien wants to implement, do we agree with it wholly? No. Does it fit our personnel offensively? Yes. Is it executed at the highest level every time, or is the play calling executed or called at the highest level at every time? No, it's not. But we see when there are mismatches that are created. We did see him attack a mismatch tonight. We saw that.
Finally.
We saw him give Bryce the option to continue to attack a mismatch. And Ja'Cory Brooks, what it was, 3 hitch routes on the same drive that led to a score. So, like, I mean, those are the type of simple things that we were looking for. So, offensively, I think we took a step in the right direction. Defensively, I think we had already established an identity from week 1. We saw a lot of mental errors, which you expect the first couple weeks. That's really what's been killing our defense. Mental errors. We're talking about pass interference when guys were in perfect position to play the ball. We're talking about not keeping their heads up when they're making tackles, when arm tackling. Guys not being disciplined in the gaps, but being there, but just not making the tackles. So we saw a lot of things that were, just time had to develop type thing. And you see this defense is mean. I made a funny post taking a jab at the UGA fans. Alabama hasn't given up 20 points to a team yet this year. You get what I'm saying? Like we haven't. And we haven't given up a crazy amount of rushing yards either, guys. Like we have to appreciate what we have right now on the defense. It in the midst of it, when we're in the heat of a game, it doesn't look like we're dominated, but go look at the numbers. Our defense is locked tight. It's locked tight. It's locked tight.
And I'm going to bring up some of those numbers in just a second. Yeah, you mentioned Bill O'Brien. You mentioned mismatches. One of the things that Steve Sarkisian does very well, and so does Lane Kiffin, our previous coordinators, who we compare everybody to, and we've gotten spoiled by. One of the best things about them is they're able to find those mismatches and exploit them. Bill O'Brien, up until this point, not so much. I was beginning to question if he actually knew how to find mismatches. And it seemed like anytime that he would get hit in the mouth, he'd go into this unresponsive shell and he wouldn't know how to respond. And he'd just start throwing things at the wall, seeing if they somehow worked. Whereas tonight, he was actually attacking. He was actually finding those mismatches. He was capitalizing off of them. Finally, we saw that. Finally, we saw something called tempo. I almost forgot what that was.
I was literally, it was literally, I was trying my best not to say it and cut you off. Like Bill O'Brien, maybe the up tempo offense his play calling style fits that. Maybe that's what it is. Honestly, I saw a comment in the game day chat last week that was talking about pace, and the guy was like, "We always wait until 5 seconds to snap the ball." It's not necessarily making or snapping the ball at 5 seconds. It's about keeping that look. Once you get a positive play off of that look, you build off of that. That's what tempo offense is based off of. You don't just go out there and run plays fast. You go out there and your projections or your percentages, your probabilities are based on hitting off of that first play. So you're banking on that first down play to get those 4+ yards on that first play, whether it's a rush play or pass play, whatever play you call, you're banking to get it so you can get right back on the line and exploit another option or another weakness in that same look without that defense being able to substitute. So I saw him take advantage of that tonight. And Bryce is just he makes it easy because he's so smart under the center. So and the wide receivers, I saw a lot of zone coverage reads from my wide receivers. Kobe Prentice is struggling with making these reads, guys. He's a freshman. He's young. He's struggling though, because even on the when they did the I don't even want to call it a bend, but Latu, they had tight end offset with the twins on the right, and Latu released up the seam, but he cut to split the hash, And Prentice, instead of bending back to the hash, he bent over to Brooks's fade route, and that could have been catastrophic. You playing against UGA or the LSU or somebody. So it's just small things that you see that they're developing and working on. That if we can just continue to develop, it's going to be hard to stop us.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I do want to talk about the offense because I feel like that was the main focal point tonight. But I want to switch gears and talk about the defense. There's not a whole lot to say. So that's why I want to jump to this real quick because we're doing what we do. We dominated. Let me give you some stats. You're talking about stats earlier. Vanderbilt, total yards, 129. Total, 129. They're 1 of 13 on third down. They weren't going anywhere. I got to give some props about one individual who I've been very harsh on. And if you watch our show on Tuesday nights, my co-host Marvin Constant, as well as Steve Brown, have been very critical of, and that's Henry To'oTo'o. Tonight, Henry To'oTo'o showed me something that I've been waiting on for quite some time. He showed me a little bit of that monster, that pit bull. He had a little bit of fight to him tonight. He was laying that ooey hit. He was in the backfield. He was reading plays. He anticipated what was going to happen, knew what was going to happen before it actually was executed, shooting at those gaps, creating nightmares for anyone that he came in contact with. And if he wasn't doing that, he was disrupting routes. He was reading them, and he was making sure nothing happened. So, first of all, tonight, I will give props to Henry To'oTo'o. Is he changed forever? Who knows? But tonight, he's going to get props from me. But consistency is the key. Coach Smoot, go ahead and talk a little bit about To'oTo'o.
So I'm gonna give To'oTo'o his props too. And my thing is, it wasn't him. I'm gonna tell you it wasn't To'oTo'o. You want me to tell you what made the difference tonight for To'oTo'o? Having a Jaheim Otis in front of him.
Well, I was about to say,
obviously
having a defensive line that actually could clear out.
Yes, and he was able to float and do what he does best, and that's clean up plays. Like that's what he did at Tennessee. Tennessee would stuff gaps and he just would be able to run free and make a lot of those key one-on-one tackles. And that's one thing I think he had to get used to here and grow through is coming off of contact himself and still being able to drive through and make that play. So, To'oTo'o played a solid game tonight. He played a solid game tonight. And also, I think it was the style of offense that they called. It played right into his strengths because
Absolutely.
He didn't have to float sideline to sideline as much tonight. He got to stay in the box for the most part of the night. When he did have to go outside the box, it wasn't 12, 15 yards downfield, which is not a strong point for most middle linebackers or inside linebackers. That's just not there. That's not something that they're usually comfortable with. So and just the defensive front as a whole, that defensive line rotation is nasty, Justin.
Oh gosh.
And you got to think we have guys that are lying in wait, just patiently waiting. You got freshmen that can get out there right now and impact the game, but they're just waiting. There's no need to risk an injury. There's no need. I mean, and then the three-man, I think the three-man rotation at the inside spots is helping To'oTo'o too. Because I saw a nice rotation with that. He did have some plays where I think he was playing maybe 70, 75% of the snaps today, which is way better than the 95 or 97% that they put out, some crazy stat that they put out earlier in the season, how many snaps he played for Alabama last year. So right now he's a little bit lower than that, which is helping him, keeping him fresh. So all that plays a factor and is helping this team develop. And To'oTo'o played solid tonight.
He did. And you mentioned the defensive line. I feel like that we are actually starting to creep back to those days of having the great wall of hell no. Because Jaheim Otis can clear out an entire offensive line by himself. DJ Dale, hey, welcome to the show, buddy.
Spot player. Did I not say it last week? Let him play in spots, man. That dude does not need to be out there for 40 snaps. Let him play 12 to 15 snaps and go out there and explode on something for those 12 to 15 snaps. And that's what happened tonight. And it was effective. Now, if we play a team that goes heavy run, bring your two tackles in, your two D tackles in, and let them fill gaps and stuff. But when people try to spread us out like that, DJ Dell does not need to be out there running 30, 40 snaps. Get that man 15 snaps max, and let him be explosive in those spots. We're deep enough to do that.
Yeah, I agree. And there's another player I have to mention for the fourth week in a row. And
Justin Boyd.
man, you just had to do that. You just had to spoil my fun. Listen, I have been on the celebration.
I felt it. I said he's been talking about him for the past couple of weeks. He's been waiting on him. I knew it.
I have been. Listen, I'm on the the Justin Boyd party bus because me and I'm sure along with a lot of other Alabama folks out there, we've been waiting on this for a while. This man's give a damn button is turned way up, and I don't know who did it. Freddie Roach, if it was you, I praise your name. Awesome. But this guy is just wrecking shop. And the line is just feeding off of that. And it's really great seeing him side by side with Byron Young. Glad he's not severely injured because Byron Young is having an amazing year too. And last year he was that guy who was a compliment to Big Phil and kind of fed off of Big Phil. Now he is that guy, and people are feeding off of him. So, up until the injury, lights out. That defensive line is probably the most solid group or one of the most solid groups in that defense.
I mean, Tim Smith that guy, even and you said something about penalties earlier, a lot of those penalties that I saw tonight, and we're not talking about offense, but, I think we had 3 offensive penalties, but they were on both sides were effort penalties. Like Tim Smith fired off on that lineman. You could see the explosion. You could see the anticipation, and his reaction to it was like, all right, let me go on back to the bench. He came back with that conviction, I can't do that. We can't afford that. He wasn't laughing about it. He didn't take it lightly. He was like, yo, I got to fix, and came back in that same drive and was in that mix up to make a key stop on the third down. That attitude, like you said, that button is pushed, that button is turned on, and guys are reacting right now.
They are. And I want everybody to understand that, it is Vandy. We get that, but this is a much improved Vandy. I don't know if you knew this, but actually Vandy is one of the point leaders in the entire nation. I think averaging 42 points per game. Wide receiver Will Shepherd, who Terrion Honor shut down tonight, up until this game was leading the nation in touchdown receptions.
Yep.
Running back Ray Davis is arguably one of the best in the SEC right now. I think is actually the leader in the SEC in rushing yards. Absolutely shut down. But one of the things I was really looking at and I was licking my chops about was freshman starting quarterback AJ Swan. How was he going to respond to this road pressure? But more importantly, these dogs. Hey, more importantly, he was playing with a backup center. So
Justin, honestly, that kid played a solid game. He got rattled, but it wasn't like a frantic rattle. It was just the fact that you were just really outmatched the whole game. That's all there was. But this team, Vanderbilt's going to play better. They're going to play a lot of teams closer. They're going to when they play Kentucky, they're going to play Kentucky close. Vanderbilt's going to be that Vanderbilt might get 6 wins this year. And let's be honest, they might sneak. They might catch Mississippi. I don't know who else is on their schedule, but they might if they run into, let me see. They're going to beat South Carolina. I think Vanderbilt can beat South Carolina.
Absolutely.
I think Vanderbilt's going to surprise Ole Miss, depending on what time that game is. Missouri, they have a chance with Missouri. Vanderbilt has a chance to win 6 games. So, quality of talent or the quality of teams that we're playing is not the issue here. It's definitely not the issue. I just look at the level of execution against this team, against teams we're supposed to beat. Do we execute and dominate? We've dropped 55 against Vanderbilt.
Right.
It's not a struggling 34 or, it's not a struggle. And the only close game we had is against a Texas team that's beat up now. We see what's happening with them now. They're beat up. We took their will with that win.
Right.
But, they have a top 10 recruiting class they putting on the field right there. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And as far as Vandy's schedule, I think they're off this next weekend, but then they have Ole Miss, Then they play Georgia. Then they have a little bit of a break with Missouri, then South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, and then end the season in Tennessee. So, yeah, 6 wins, if not 7, is very doable. Can
Because
they
Florida
be?
look horrible. Florida looks horrible. I can't. I don't know what.
They're getting a little bit better. They hadn't really found that identity yet. And to be honest with you, I think Billy Napier has had to push a reset button on Anthony Richardson because Dan Mullen did not do anything to
Nothing for that
progress
kid.
him. But it will click. And I think once it does, Florida is going to be a really good team.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at a couple of those games. Are they going to beat Georgia? Probably not. I don't think they'll beat Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss knows who they are now, and they're clicking on all cylinders. Will they beat South Carolina? More than likely. Will they beat Kentucky? That could go either way. That's a swing game.
Yeah.
Depending on what Kentucky shows up. Will they beat Florida? That's another game to watch. That could be a swing game. Has Florida finally started making steps forward? Will they beat Tennessee? Probably not.
Tennessee looks. I'm excited about Tennessee. Us and Tennessee. Like I'm excited about that matchup this season. I feel like.
I am too.
What's the Hendon Hooker? What's his
Hendon
name?
Hooker.
He's a solid guy, man. I like that kid. I'm honestly those the type of quality players you be like, man, if he was at Alabama, he would thrive. But you look at what we have and you're like, I'm good with what we got. You know,
But yeah, shout out to Hendon Hooker. And yes, folks, we will get back to Alabama, I promise. But since he took over the starting duties at Tennessee, he's only thrown 2 interceptions.
Yeah. With 47 touchdowns or some crazy stuff like that.
He's playing out of his mind.
Those are Heisman numbers. Think about the numbers Bryce put up last season to win Heisman.
Yeah. He's I mentioned it earlier this morning on another show that he's kind of a dark horse for me to be in New York. So yeah, if things keep progressing, we shall see. But back to Alabama, I think we've pretty much covered the defense. I mean, unless you want to hit on the secondary. Terrion Arnold is.
I'm sold on the secondary. Like I feel like we have a good read on what we have at secondary.
Yeah,
and we see it's a 3-man rotation, and it's just gonna be covered by committee with the corners. Arnold is definitely 1, and then Kool-Aid is 1B with Ricks lying in wait. I don't think Kyrie Jackson is going to get another opportunity to go out there as a starter. I think he gets out there as emergency case scenario, but I think somebody else has a chance too. And we were talking about him in the preseason, but I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm gonna wait.
You're gonna wait. You're gonna dangle that carrot.
Yeah,
but you're not gonna let us take a bite of it.
Not yet. Because I've been seeing some plays where he's literally right there. They're calling us dime set in, and 20. I think it's 28. Number 28. Not 28. Number 8. Devontae Smith. I feel like this kid is getting close to getting on the field, man. And they have him listed as a safety, but his original position coming to Alabama, he was a strong dime corner. That was where he played at in high school. The kid is going to come on that field. If he sees the field, I think we see another solid DB in that race.
And as far as Eli Ricks, if people are wanting to know what's going on with him, I got a little bit of a inside info. Apparently in practice, he's being cooked, and has a little bit of an attitude problem as well. Like, when you're supposed to be jogging or running places, he's walking around kind of with a nasty attitude. I can't give up my source on this live or really at all, but I do have it from inside information. That's kind of what's going on. And that's probably why we're not seeing a whole lot of Eli until like the second half when things are a little bit better, more in hand.
You can see it though. Like even I don't know if you remember, I was in the game day chat saying, Rick's walking around with the towel on his head during the Texas game. The quickest way to get in a game when you're the person in front of you is getting cooked or dropping passes, you be the first one to be there and be like, bro, you got it, man. Just shake it off, bro. Just remember, like that's how I got on the field my junior year. I mean, my sophomore year. In high school, like I was the hypest man on the sideline. I didn't start until like the 7th or 8th game of the season when the season was already down the drain. Like, but I would play a lot of snaps just because of my energy,
Right.
and I just don't understand. I guess it's the ego thing. Like I hear Marvin said a lot, these kids they just feel like they they should be handed everything.
Absolutely.
They're given all this money before they even play a snap in college football now. And I feel like it's clouding some of their judgment. And a guy like Ricks to have all that hype coming over to Alabama, he didn't expect to be challenged by a Terrion Arnold.
Oh
He didn't
yeah.
expect a Kool-Aid McKinstry to put up a fight. He didn't expect Kyrie Jackson to put up a fight and fight back from after he got embarrassed in the national championship. He didn't expect, other guys to step up, Malachi Moore and Deion Branch to stay consistent, to get better. He probably came in with an idea, Jordan's room, but I'm coming in, I'm gonna be this guy. But you could tell it's the energy. But when he is out there, you can tell he can definitely make a difference.
Yeah, I agree. And the mindset of the newer athletes does fall in line with what you're saying, but also too, one of the things that Mike McCoy has talked about, and then we'll get back to the offense, is having a presence on the sideline like a Scott Cochran, who is making sure everybody was dialed in, whether they were starting or not, and making sure they were paying attention and they weren't walking around doing what you're saying. But yeah, they were ready. They had that next man up mentality, not the when's it my turn mentality. And not having a Scott Cochran type. Of course, I'm not there, but I'm assuming that's not there. But based on what some of our guests on the Bama Standard have said, that kind of guy is not there, and that does make a big difference. But it's not the only reason why things are happening. But I think it does have a key part in it. But
and one quick thing, man.
Yeah.
You got all these grad assistant guys like Javier Arenas and those guys sitting on the sideline. What are they doing? Like I agree totally with that comment with not having that Scott Cochran type energy, but you got guys that have been through this process.
Oh, I agree.
These are little small steps that you could take as a young coach or young assistant trying to learn how to become a coach. So
I agree. Shout out to Jonathan Lewis. He says that finally had a complete game in his opinion, outside of a couple of drops from receivers, and Toa finally hitting people like a linebacker. Yes, Jonathan, we already talked about Toa, and I actually gave him praise. I know it's probably crazy to hear that, but if you missed that part, I encourage you to go back.
But we'll clip it.
Yeah, we'll clip it, and you may even hear it on Tuesday. And I'll try to mute Marvin so that what I'm saying can be heard.
Right,
viewing audience.
Yeah, man.
But
go ahead. You said you was about to go to the offense.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to have your opinion on, because a lot of people try to make it seem like it's the level competition we're playing, but I always go and look at the numbers.
Yeah,
and when we talk about offense, we talk about what's one of the things that we feel like we struggle with in those big games. One of the main things everybody would like to talk about the wide receivers and stuff, but let's look at the important stuff like time of possession.
Yeah.
Like today, we didn't dominate time of possession, but with our time of possession, we were efficient.
Yeah. Maximized it, yeah.
7 of 12 on third down efficiency. We went 50% on fourth down. We went fourth down on twice and got one of them. Like those are the numbers you're looking for when you're talking about moving the chains, playing an up-tempo style offense. If you're up-tempo for 70, 80% of your play calling and you're still able to maintain time possession for 30 plus minutes, that's half the game you're holding the ball. And then for your defense to go out and just make the offense slow down, I think that's good. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. Listen, I know a lot of people will voice what you just said, in that, hey, you're playing these less than opponents. You really can't get too excited. But what I'm looking at is beyond the opponent, beyond what's on the field. I'm looking at the mechanics of things. I'm looking at the small parts, making sure we're doing it right. I'm looking at, are we in the right places? Are we eliminating mistakes? Are we making sure that we're dialed in? And are we establishing confidence? Are we establishing connections? I look at all that stuff in games like this. How are we utilizing this opponent to make ourselves better in time for the gauntlet coming up? That's what I look at. Yes, the scoreboard, yeah, we're going to run away with it as we should. We better, That's what we're supposed to do with these opponents. But I'm looking more importantly at how we get better
How
in
we
these
doing
type of
it?
games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the offense tonight, 628 yards total. We're doing something right. And
That's
that's what you're supposed to do against opponents like this. You're not supposed to kind of half-ass up and down the field, just doing just enough to kind of get through. No, you don't grow from that. You don't learn from that. But also, you can also leave yourself open for injuries. So
right.
I'm not in favor of half-assing it. And don't you dare say it around Coach Saban either.
Yeah, don't do that because and I think that's what almost got us against Utah State. Like guys just started half telling it, man. I mean, like just and even against Texas, they came out early half telling like Texas was just gonna give it to us. But I
Yeah.
saw a different energy on especially in our old line, man. The old line it's coming together. And Emil Ekiyor, I love you, bro. I love you. I love you, son. But having that Steen boy, not Steen, Booker out there, Jesus Christ! I mean, that boy is.
Come on.
My, and I honestly, I wish he could snap. I wish he could play center because then we could have Ekiyor out there and put Booker at center. And just allow just the 5 nastiest offensive linemen. I mean, and I think Seth McLaughlin is the most energy we've had since Landon Dickerson.
Yes.
But you talking about just pure raw talent. Booker is there. He's ready. I don't know why we can't find a way to get him. I don't know if Cohen loses his spot, because he's solid too. But Booker has to be on. It's like
I
trying to
agree.
keep Otis off the field, bro. Like you can't do that on that side of the ball. So
I say sit Ekiyor, bring in Tyler Booker. Seth McLaughlin needs to be at center. I'm not a Darian Dalcourt guy. I've tried to be patient. I have waited, but he just isn't it. Seth McLaughlin, he gets the assignment. You mentioned Landon Dickerson. I compare him to Landon Dickerson. I call him Landon Dickerson light. He doesn't have the body weight of a Dickerson, but he's got that mindset. He will knock you in the mouth, put you in the dirt, and not apologize for it. And that's what we need. Last year, as soon as he was inserted into the lineup, it changed everything.
The whole energy of the offense, not just the offensive line, but the whole offense.
Oh, absolutely. And hey, need to remind everyone what he did to Jordan Davis? No one did that. Yeah. Wore him out. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on offensive line. I think the offensive line as a whole did a lot better tonight, especially in pass protection. Good Lord, Bryce Young had all day. He could have wrote a short story. He could have worked on his movie. Something, man. Could have played a game of I don't know. He could have done TikTok video. I don't know. You get the point. He had the time. They played a lot better. But going forward, I think Tyler Booker is the guy you need to have in there. I want Seth McLaughlin in there. So I don't care if anybody in the chat has different thoughts, please voice that.
Yeah, and I think this is what leads to the and this is I was going to bring up before we came on. I think Bill O'Brien is banking on having that type of protection for Bryce. That's why his style of play calling is the way it is. And that doesn't give him an excuse to call the plays at a poor rate that he is calling them at, the rate the level he's calling them at, or the efficiency that they're producing. It doesn't give them an excuse to that, but to see our offensive line hold up, and like I said again, yes, it's Vanderbilt, but to hold up, we were having issues protecting against Utah State. We were having issues protecting against Texas, but like we saw a different level of execution here today. And if that's what Bill O'Brien is banking on, then we're going to get in trouble, because you have to be able to adjust as an offensive as a coach in general, that when you have play calling responsibilities, your job is to make adjustments on the fly and to make sure that that's communicated through the rest of the moving pieces. And he struggles with that. But tonight we were able to see what he expects. And if that's what we can do, I feel like if we could do that against Vanderbilt, we can do that against Arkansas. We could do that against Texas A&M. We could do that against Mississippi State. Like, everybody is coming up. We can hold these. I don't see another dominant defensive line coming through until we possibly see LSU got some guys up front that nobody's talking about.
They do.
But
Hey, listen, and you bring up Arkansas. That's actually their strength. They got a nasty front. Little fact here: they actually lead the nation in sacks right now.
Yeah.
Now their secondary not so good. Their linebackers, Drew Sanders and Bumper Pool, yeah, they're doing their thing, man. And that defensive line, they're really good. So yeah, we're gonna need to do what we did tonight next week, and then against A&M. That's their defensive front. That's a huge strength. So yeah, we need a little bit of this tonight to have confidence going into those next two games.
Only reason I'm not sold on Arkansas's front is because of Arkansas has a physical front. I mean, like built wise, like they're big. Those guys are big, and those first couple weeks, you don't see a lot of offensive linemen aren't conditioned the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season. You know, offensive linemen aren't, and so like they're beating guys off of just pure. Okay, we're getting our feet wet, and like we're not going to discount anything that they're doing. We're not going to do that, but you got offensive line rolling like ours. I feel like the advantage goes to us because they don't get to sit there and just say, all right, we got one assignment. They're attacking a offense that has Bryce Young at quarterback, Jahmyr Gibbs and Jace McClellan coming out the background. They have a Cameron Latu that's going to help chip block. Like this is a multi-assignment based, team you're about to come up against, and it doesn't give you that freedom to just relentlessly press gaps and hope that you knock somebody over, and knock them into the back quarterback. So I feel like I feel like it'll be a good matchup, but I feel like we're going to expose some things after seeing what we did tonight.
Yeah, I'll go with that. But let's go ahead and start talking about the offense. Let's talk about
yes, sir.
They have a starting point, and that's the man, the Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young. Coach Smook, he played absolutely out of his mind. 316 yards in the first half alone, spreading the ball around. I think it was the count was 8 to 12 different wide receivers.
Yeah,
man, and nobody has better ball placement than Bryce Young. Man, just straight nasty. What really got me going was when we finally switched to tempo. Finally, it's what we've been begging. This is where he operates the best. It's like someone pressed that nitro button and boom, Bryce mode, and nobody could touch him. And like we mentioned earlier, he actually had time to allow plays to develop. But then when he had to improvise, it didn't matter, man. He was still just taking souls and making them look silly. And what was really impressive to me, and which is going to lead into our next topic, was what he's establishing with Ja'Cory Brooks. But I'll let you go ahead and touch on Bryce. I know you have some things to say.
Nothing to say about Bryce, man. Bryce is still Bryce. And that the offensive, you can see the offensive line is starting to adjust to how to protect Bryce. And that's you don't see guys standing still after holding up a block for 3 or 4 seconds. When Bryce had to move out the pocket the 4 or 5 times he had to, you see offensive linemen, moving with him,
Right.
And that made a big difference. So big shouts out to Bryce, man, just being Bryce.
Gosh, I'd rather have him than any quarterback in the nation. But
right now, Justin, we have the gift right now, and to see him, to know that he can get better, to know that he's not at his peak, like that's scary, Oh, and if I did have to pick about something, the deep ball, I think Bryce doesn't trust some of the receiver speed. Some of the newer guys.
He did tonight. But this is the first time all season.
And he has to do that every time, no matter who the competition is. Give those guys a chance. They're not 4 or 5 stars for no reason. Give them guys a chance and let that thing go, because you have the arm. We know you have the arm. Don't short arm anything else. You did that enough last week. Let it go. Them guys, they got to get up under it. You work them guys. Make them receivers stretch, man. I feel like they want to stretch. I feel like they want to go. Bryce let that thing go, and when he does it, it always works out. It always works out. So,
and I think the best possible thing about being in tempo is that Bill O'Brien is not making the call; it's Bryce making the call.
Right.
And that changes the whole game. And That's what we really need to do.
Yeah. I
Place it in
mean,
his hands.
you could tell they give him sets, and he just makes the right decisions out of all the sets. If it's, I don't know if it's a 2 call or 3 call type play, but he's making the right decisions, and the guys are trusting him.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about his receivers. Ja'Cory Brooks, we already talked about him a little bit. And for anyone who just now joined us, I definitely want to sing his praises again. First half of the night, as I said earlier, the Ja'Cory Brooks show just, man, balled out. 6 receptions for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. Great separation, which we've been begging for the past 3 games. A guy that's going to fight for the ball. And he's starting to live up to the praise that John Mechie gave him when he said, "This is going to be that dude."
I saw some of Devontae Smith out there with the way he was just attacking it out of his routes, exploding out of his routes, attacking the ball in the air, sitting and coming back to the ball, just protecting his body on hits,
Mm-hmm.
finding the small squeeze spots to fall forward and gain the extra yard. Like, he did a lot of small things that we're used to seeing from receivers in the past. And I mean, I've been said it, man. Ja'Cory Brooks is the most consistent receiver we have. I mean, from the time he's got here, he's progressing every time he has a chance to show it. Even with the drops, the drop, I think it was last week, when I think Bryce kind of threw it behind him, but he still could have had it because he was trying to protect himself. He got kind of alligator armed it. I think he
Mm-hmm.
learned from that because
Yeah.
he made some tough catches tonight. And the guy's strong at the top of the routes. Justin, he's I don't think people realize the small, intricate parts that go into being able to be a great wide receiver. People think it's just running fast, getting off some. No,
Yeah.
like, this
Just
guy's
send them
strong at
all
the
on
top.
verticals.
Yeah, nah, it's not that. This guy's strong at the top of his route. Um, I don't know. I don't know how much faster he may get, or if that's something that he's even striving to. Because I feel like he's a solid 4.4 guy. But strong at the top of his routes, and it's
Yeah.
showing.
And I think too much emphasis is put on speed for a lot of people is the be all end all.
Right,
For me, it's the other things that you mentioned, the intangibles, what makes a receiver great. You don't have to be a burner to be a great wide receiver. Newsflash: Jerry Rice ran a 4.6. He
right,
wasn't the fastest guy on the field, but he ran the cleanest routes. He did all the smallest things that made him great. And when it was time to get that all important first down of that big play, quarterback looking at his way. And I feel like that can be Ja'Cory Brooks.
facts, and even just the way you could tell that um guys are interpreting their assignments a lot better. Because you saw him, especially on alignment. I I hate the fact that I actually watch and know football, because I was looking at alignment on a lot of those twin sets, when those split sets, when he was the number one and Burton was the number two. Just the alignment is different, creating space for the type of routes that Bill O'Brien wants to run. Once ran, and like, coaching adjustment has to be, player adjustment had to be,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we're seeing, and that's a good thing as far as the offense coming along. But that wide receiver group did look a lot more comfortable today, and it wasn't just because they were playing against less talent. They've been playing against lesser talent the last 3 out of 4 weeks, so it's just they look comfortable.
Right. And you mentioned the number 2, Jermaine Burton. Finally, he came alive. We had almost forgotten that he was there, but he made his grand re-entrance, made big plays. I believe it was, 2 or 3 plays in a row, and made significant contributions tonight. Ran clean routes, good separation. Like I said, 4 receptions for 94 yards in the first half. He really established himself tonight, and I think we really needed to see him take that next step, and especially to live up to the hype he had coming in.
Right. Right. And I mean, Burton, like I said earlier, I'm not sold yet. I want to see it
Yeah.
against. I want to see him I want to see him sell out for some stuff for this team. I want to see the commitment on the field. I want to see that energy. But I think what's really helping our receiver group is having Jason Jameer coming out the backfield being threats.
Ooh.
When that dual running back set, that has to be called at least 6 to 8 times a game, man. We have to use that. And I mean, run 5 times out of it, pass 4 times out of it. Like, that set is so hard to cover because you could have Jace, Jameer, you could have Burton, Brooks, and Holden all out on the field at the same time. Like, that's 5 defenders, 6 defenders possibly that have to decide on how they're gonna match up with that group of 5. Or you could keep Latu in, keep your split Brooks and Burton or Brooks and Holden split out as the wide receivers and have Latu at tight end and create him a mismatch with a linebacker or a safety. You know, it's so many things because those linebackers, I'm taking Jace McClellan and Jahmyr Gibbs over any linebacker or just about any safety in the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
One-on-one. I'm taking them. Those guys are nasty, man. They're not getting their respect either. I think people look at Gibbs and get excited because he was the transfer, but McClellan is that dude too. I feel like we have 2 of the same running backs. Two elite running backs.
But Jace, out of the 2, he's elite. He's top level. But I like that blue collar in him. You know, that guy who will, he's got that flashiness, but he will hit you in the mouth. He will run through you. He will do that soul punch and knock it right out your body to get that first down. I like that aspect of him. He's a physical runner. Yes, Roy Dale's a physical runner, but Jace is the perfect combination of physicality and elusiveness. I love that about him.
I feel like we got like a Jacobs Harris type room right now. When Najee was the number 3 guy, and I think we had Damian Harris and Brandon
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. I can say Brandon Jacobs. I think about the running back from New York Giants, but yeah. Josh Jacobs, man. That I mean, I feel like that's the type of punch and action we have right now in the running back room, and that's a scary room because Roy Dale is really the bruiser. Like, if we talk about running style, if we get into a game where it's like they're gonna keep 3 high safety and we want to run between the tackles, let's let Roy Dale get in there. Because that boy, he don't care. I don't think he has a signal in his brain that says, like, I'm not supposed to be able to run through people all the time. People like twice my size. This boy will try to run through everything.
Oh gosh, and I love that. Jahmyr Gibbs, going back to him, I definitely want to close the show talking about our running backs because they're being utilized more. And Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the things that impressed me tonight, other than just him being a human highlight reel, was leading up to this game, he was having some issues picking up blocks. This game, he was picking up every block.
Every one of them.
He was picking them up hard. He had to clean that up. And I think he took that to heart earlier in this short season when he was not getting it done in that area. He made a personal mission, and he did just that tonight. What I liked about Bill O'Brien's usage of him tonight, in the beginning, he used him as a decoy and then transitioned him to the feature back. And when he did, man, it was like watching a human highlight reel, a joystick, a cheat code, whatever adjective you want to use to describe him. It's the Jahmyr Gibbs that we were being made to believe he is. Man, absolutely amazing. I don't even have words for what I saw, but I'm glad he's here.
Me too, Justin. I think, and I think we're starting to see an evolution of Bill O'Brien beginning to manipulate defenses by using his personnel. And if Jahmyr Gibbs continues to, I think he's smart. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a very smart young man. Even when it comes down to the business side of being an Alabama football player as a transfer who's got all these projections, this man said, if I can't pass block, I might miss a snap. Mm-hmm. What if I'm not in on that snap and Jace or Roydell make the pass block and it goes for a first down and we go into tempo and then they get the next handoff and they break for the big run because the defense is tired trying to get back to the line to line up and play against tempo. So that definitely, I don't care as a competitor. You think about small stuff like that when you in the weight room doing those box
Oh
jumps or
yeah.
when you're doing those, them duck walk squats and all that stuff. Like you thinking about that because you know what it takes to get you have an idea what it takes to get to the next level, and you don't want to miss those steps. So I think it's awesome to see that. And even with Trey Sanders coming out and still firing through the bro, when I say when he hits the hole, he gets in the game and hits the hole as if, it's 23-23 and we need the last
Oh
touchdown. Like
yeah.
that running back room is deep, and just the whole energy of the offense is different after Texas game. I don't care. Last week we made funny plays, but we played solid last week on offense too. And this energy on this offense side of the ball, if it could match that level on this that the defense has.
I'm with you.
I don't know what to
Yeah,
say.
I know,
Like you
right?
just shake your head because the talent is there. The talent is there. There's never been an issue with talent. It's just been about execution and being disciplined, and we're on our way. We're on our way, Justin.
And I can't close out our assessment of this group without bringing up the freshmen. Man, Jamarian Miller. Wow, this kid's got something special. Nine rushes for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. Closed out the game with that 40-yard run. I really like what I'm seeing from this kid already. And my question is, how do we get him on the field more? Because I feel like he's a talent that really needs to be utilized.
Justin, contrary to popular belief, I don't think that kid's going to stay. And you want me to tell you why?
Wow. Well, because of Richard
What's
Young
what's coming behind him, and it's not a guarantee that Roydell leaves next year. It's not a guarantee that Jace leaves after this season. Jameer, more than likely, he's gone. I think Jace goes. I think Jace did enough, opened enough eyes last season before his injury, and it's picked up right where he left off from last year to solidify his draft stock. His campaign continues. Trey, he's graduating. He's gone. Roydell probably come back as the leader of the room. And you got Henderson, who's been working at wide receiver, but he was getting running back looks, before the JoJo Earl injury, before Aaron Anderson injury, before Tyler Harrell injury. Like that guy's he's a dog. And then you got the freshmen that's the guys that just signed that verbally committed. Miller is a solid back, but will he be able to get the looks with what's coming in behind him? Because it's like he's only there now. He's only getting them now because of the injuries and the movement of where the other guys had to go. So, but as far as his skill set and what he can bring, we definitely need to utilize him this year. If we're not going to force Trey in there and give him more
All
carries,
right. Yeah, I agree.
let Miller get out there and get those, and build it up. Because then you might be able to tap into something before you. We know how college football is now. We buy into a lot of this stuff coming in. So, Miller, I would hate to see it happen, but I feel like he would be one of those guys that got away just because of he'll be the Alvin Kamara of this group.
Right. And yeah, I mean, you bring up a very good point because look what we have coming in: Richard Young and Justice Haynes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're in high school, man, but you can tell
Young is ready to start today.
They're coming in grown men.
Richard Young is ready to start at Alabama today. He is ready to go and be 1C with McClellan, Gibbs. He's ready to be 1C with them at Alabama right now.
I got you. Before we close up shop, I definitely want to get players of the game. But before I get that, I want to remind everyone in the chat, if you're just joining us and you missed our injury update, I want to make sure you know exactly what's going on. First of all, Cameron Latu, he's okay. If you're watching the game all the way through, he came back and was very effective. Arguably one of the best tight ends in the conference. Jordan Battle, hamstring injury, no big deal. He'll be back. But most importantly, Byron Young, yes, it did look nasty. Yes, he did get carted to the back, and he was on crutches. But praise be to God, it was only an ankle injury. So he'll be back in the lineup, and he's going to still do those big things, man. Byron Young is going to finish this season out strong. All right, time for your MVPs, offensive and defensive. If you need a 1A and 1B from each one, I give you the power to do so. But what you got for me?
Offensive MVP. I'm gonna start off with offense since I'm an offensive guy, and I'm gonna give it to my guy Ja'Cory Brooks. I'm gonna give it to Ja'Cory Brooks. He created a new energy in that wide receiver room, and it's very infectious. I'm telling you, it's very infectious. You're gonna see guys starting to want to make more plays because of what he did tonight and the consistency he did that. He trusted the offense, he trusted his reads, and it showed. And that's why he was the leading receiver for the night. Defensive side, I'm gonna give it to I'm gonna give it to Henry To'oTo'o. I'm gonna give it to Henry To'oTo'o. I'm gonna give it to Henry T. Only because he was the most improved as far as what we needed to see for our defense to be complete. And when he did his job at a high level, at a high rate, making tackles, not missing tackles in the backfield, actually going and filling gaps and not letting guys climb up to him, it made a big difference for our defense. We're going to have to give a 1B on that side, though, to Otis and those guys up front, clearing it out for him, though. But he did his job, what we expect those linebackers to do. We don't expect them to be able to take on offensive linemen every snap and shed and make plays. We expect them to fill when the D-line creates space for him, and that's what he did. So Henry T, 1A, and that Otis to be in particular for 1B on defense.
Oh, man, great picks. I guess it's my turn. Offensively, I got to mirror you, Ja'Cory Brooks. Don't really need to go into a whole lot of explanation. I think I've already done that very well tonight.
That's our boy right there, man.
He's my guy. Bryce Young, 1B. Man, when he got that tempo going, man, he wasn't coming down. Yes. Defensive side of the ball. My choice is a little bit different from yours. 1A, Justin Eboigbe. I'm on the train. He is a disruptive force, and I just love the transformation he's made. And until I'm proven otherwise, he's probably the most improved player on that defense. 1B, Will the Terminator Anderson. Yeah, is it an easy pick? Absolutely. But the man was disrupted and was just killing folks tonight, man.
The discipline he displayed tonight, that's the Will Anderson I know. That's the that's what really made a difference tonight for our defense, discipline. You know, I think we had 2 defensive penalties the whole game.
Yeah.
And the other 3 were on offense. So
5 total. Great improvement.
and you talk about one of them was Tim Smith. He jumped the snap, you know, and that was just effort right there. And then I think it was the pass interference.
Yeah. Which couldn't have been called because the ball was uncatchable.
They don't give us no love. I don't know if it's just like a thing from them. Everybody watches Alabama games and expects when the ball is in the air for one of our corners to be aggressive. But I feel like we get the short end of the stick when the ball's in the air on our defense. I saw it a lot tonight. Playing the back shoulder is hard, but we get the short end of the stick. So, but yeah.
But Bama gets all the calls.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say. Before we get out of here, man, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Tell us what's up next for you and how people can get in touch with you, but also what you have going on. I know you got some podcasts. Go ahead, man. Prop yourself up.
All right, man. So appreciate this, Justin, for real, man. It's always a good pleasure, very fun to come on here and talk Alabama football. And yeah, man, I just love this energy when we get together.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now we're in the process of moving. I'm actually going to be leaving for Virginia this Thursday. We're moving to Virginia, so I'll be doing some pre-recorded things and posting them on my YouTube channel. You can find me at Coach Smoot on YouTube. I'm also going to be posting them. I have 2 content pages on Facebook. One is Coach Smoot, then the other one is Coach Smoot Gaming. My Coach Smoot page is going to be for my content with, you know, sports talk, podcast, everything. So that's how you can find me. I'm also back active on Twitter at Coach Smoot. Everything's at Coach Smoot. So if you just go look up Coach Smoot on any platform, you might find something of me. I'm doing something on somewhere. You know, that's where I'm at right now. We're all over the place. So Yeah, but once again, Justin, thanks for the opportunity, man. And like I said, I enjoyed it, man. I love talking Alabama football, and I just love how our minds bounce off of each other
Oh yeah,
to create these thoughts for the fans, man.
man. It was a pleasure on my side too, especially since you came on at midnight to do this, man.
I'm up all the time.
Tell you what, man. That's a diehard fan. I
Yeah,
love
man.
it. But I
I'm
always
up.
love when we can get together. We can talk things out. I'm glad that you and I have finally joined in the podcast world. Why
Yeah.
haven't we done this before? Definitely going to do this a lot more going forward in the future. Definitely want to throw out some plugs for the Bama Standard on Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern on Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. We are live on air. It's me, all SEC linebacker Marvin Constant, two-time national championship running back and USFL champion running back Bo Scarborough, comedy legend Steve Brown, and senior analyst of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Stephen M. Smith. We are 90% nonsense and 10% actual sports talk. But when we actually do have the sports talk, it is unfiltered and it is not politically correct. So if you're coming in there expecting us to sugarcoat things, you will get your feelings hurt and you will be escorted out the door promptly. Also, for the purist of Alabama football, we have Alabama Legends on every single week. This past week, we had one of the most electrifying men to ever play wide receiver. That was Freddie Millens. And this coming week, since there's been a huge focus on the offensive line, we're going to have Justin Smiley. He played in the mid-2000s, was an All-SEC, All-American offensive lineman, and played in NFL for the 49ers and the Dolphins for a long time. So if anyone knows about the offensive line or has any kind of advice or knowledge, he's probably the guy you want to check out. Also, hit the like and subscribe button right now if you hadn't done so already. Check out the content on here. We got clips from the Bama Standard shows. We got breaking recruiting news and a lot of fun. Definitely subscribe to Coach Smook and all he has going on. It's worth it. But again, guys, great night, 55-3. Love what we did. Tide's rolling. And that'll do it for us.
Hey, we got Arkansas next, baby.
Hey, just enjoy it tonight and go back to work tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Roll Tide, folks.
All right, brother. Roll Tide, man.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.